Hello and welcome back to the Educated Call Snap channel. How you doing? So today I actually have some interesting information here. This is definitely something you could have missed if you were just busy yesterday, but it was possible for the data miners to show the spotlight caches and the variants for all of July, which we do have, not the variants though, and then all of August. I'm actually shocked that this information is available personally. I did not expect to have access to this, but it's really good for players because now we can fully prepare for what we want to save for, what we're looking for. Even the variant lovers, which I thought they wouldn't have access to or they wouldn't know what variants would be in there, can also now plan. So this is pretty good news for the community as a whole, but it does raise some questions that I will definitely try to talk about. But yeah, here we do have all of the spotlight caches and all of the variants for all of July and all of August. So, let's begin. Now, first things first, right? These information, I do think Second Dinner should have got ahead of data miners because if this information is available for data miners, well, then you can get some good press by just telling people before the data mines have access to it. People are going to know, right? If it's in the data mine, people are going to know. So you may as well be like, okay, they're going to know anyways. Let's just tell them what we're thinking about. Now, obviously, some constraint is that Second Dinner can change these things, right? Like, so they can say, okay, maybe we want a different variant, maybe want a different card to be spotlighted here. And that could be an argument why they wouldn't exactly tell us. But a lot of times, this information doesn't change. You know what I mean? So you could say, hey, ask Second Dinner, hey, this is what we're thinking about. We might change things, if we want to balance things or based on community feedback, whatever they like to say. But these are the spotlight cast sets, and these are the variants that we're thinking about putting in the spotlight system. So you could definitely get some press, be like, oh yeah, here they're telling us 2 months ahead. Wow, that's great news. Now we can plan. Oh, they're telling us the variants as well. Now we can plan. But they didn't do that. And now I'm here to be like, hey, these, it's available, guys. You can actually know what it is, and I get to take it. But definitely check out the website. I'm using snap.fan. They're the ones with the data mine. Obviously, I'm gonna have that in the description, the doobly doo. So feel free to take a look yourselves. But it's just weird that if they're putting this information in there for data miners to get, they should definitely just be ahead of it. So let's get started. So we do have the first set, right? Like, so this stuff we already do know. This is what's out, right? We have the Jean Grey, we have the Null, we have the Tribunal, right? Like, we do know this. We have, like, it came out yesterday. Some people still are not updated, but generally for most people, you should already know this is out, right? But then we have next week, right? So that's Echo, Ironlight, Kang. This is what they did tell us, right? They told us these are what's coming out. So we do know this information. We did not know the variants, right? So here's something very interesting, right? The first set of new information. We did not know the variants for Echo, for Ironlight, for Kang. So now it's a lot easier for variant people to be like, oh, I actually like this Echo variant. I'm going to need 5 to 8. Five to that sounds hard. 5 days spotlight caches to get the Echo variant if I really want it. But at least you know now what it is. Now, obviously, like I'm saying, they could change it. I do like the Echo variant, Kang and Ironlight, whatever. But there are definitely some cool ones coming up. Maybe some misses as well. But it's very good to know this information. In terms of the cards itself, I'm definitely going to try to release its own separate video, just analyzing all the cards available in these spotlights and like, do I think this set of cards is worth using your spotlights on, right? Because obviously that's going to depend on your situation, whether you like a card, right? But knowing a card is like very strong or very weak, right, might also affect your decision making. So I'm not going to go super deep into whether, oh, this, which set is the best or anything like that. But I do think Iron Lad is a good enough card that if you want Iron Lad, you could go for it. It's not super relevant right now. So I could say in this particular meta, Iron Lad isn't that necessary. And then Kang, I would say, also isn't that powerful of a card right now, which I'm happy about. I would not like a meta or where Kang is played everywhere, everyone's snapping for free, and you really can't tell because, oh, do they have a Kang? That kind of thing doesn't sound fun to me at all. So this set is okay. If you like Lad, if you like Echo, might go for it. But generally, it's not meta breaking. I wouldn't say it's the best set here. And then the variants, that's up to you. The next one we do know, Legion, High Evolutionary, Darkhawk. But now we also know the variants, right? So, would say, Darkhawk variants, right, are a little bit sketchy right now due to the bundles. There's another Darkhawk bundle coming out as well that's been revealed. So there's a lot of variants for Darkhawk. So you really have to figure out which ones you like. And then, Legion is cool, but once again, it's Legion, right? Like that's the issue with cards that aren't like super powerful. I don't know if it will be, but my thoughts is it's not going to be meta breaking. So how even if there's a crazy Hawkeye variant, it's like, yeah, but you're playing Hawkeye, right? It's kind of my feeling here with Legion. High Evolutionary, if you don't have, you should still get. The nerf was meaningful, and it probably means you can play other things, but it's still a strong card, so I wouldn't ever say they killed it with the patch or anything like that. But if you do want High Evolutionary, if you're missing both High Evolutionary and Darkhawk, yeah, you should get this. I will say, if you're missing both High Evolutionary and Darkhawk, for sure, this is something to go for. And they put it next to Legion, right? Obviously, but yeah. Next up, and the final one of August, right, is this August? Well, the final one of July, right, is Mirage Thanos Master Mold, right? So here, we do know this already, but we did not know the variants, right? So if you do like these variants, feel free. In terms of card quality, right, Thanos is good. Mirage is okay, and Master Mode I wouldn't say is that irrelevant right now. So they did put a whiff here, in my opinion. So not a super great one, but Thanos is an okay card. It's not meta right now, so I wouldn't say this is like a crazy reserve to go into. And obviously we'll go more in its own video. But for now, like, if you want Thanos, you could get it. But honestly, I wouldn't necessarily go for this, even if I wanted Thanos. All right, so this is the week of August, right? So this is new information. This is stuff we were not privy to, and these things could be subject to change. It's unlikely the ones for July will change, but the ones for August could definitely change. But the first week, there's no new card because the season pass is being dropped. But in place of that, we have Galactus. So Galactus will be the spotlight new card, but then you also have Nimrod and Spider-Ham. So this is a pretty it's a pretty good set of cards, I would say, if you don't have all of them, right? If you don't have any of them, or even if you're missing one, like, adding Galactus, like Galactus did get nerfed, but it is a big bad. It is pretty interesting in how you play the game. It definitely can change that. So definitely something to look at. And then we do also have the variants, right? So I can't believe all this information is here. Like, for Datamines to get, I'm still like, what? But yeah, you can see what they're planning on having the spotlight variants for Galactus, Nimrod, and Spider-Ham. Do know Spider-Ham variant is pretty cool. Definitely something I could see picking up if I want the others. I actually don't have Galactus or Nimrod in my account right now, so I only have the Spider-Ham that I picked up. So this is actually a pretty good set for me, because I would get Galactus and Nimrod, and then the Spider-Ham variant is also pretty good. So I could actually see myself going for that. Next up, we have Lady Deathstrike, right, which is a new card. Then we have Modork and our Modok and Stature. There's some people that just get annoyed every time I say it. But you can also see the variants here, which I don't love. I don't particularly love these ones. In terms of card quality, the issue with discard right now is Spider Ham kind of just wrecks it really hard. So unless there's something that comes out that can ignore that downside of like them hitting your apocalypse, that it really struggles to recommend playing this particular card, right? Also, Stature. I mean, well, I guess Stature not being next to the Silver Samurai is a little bit right? Because it has pretty good synergy with Silver Samurai. So, if they wanted to make it like very appealing, you'd put that next to it, but they did not do that. All right, next up we have X-23, Nebula, and Silk. Right, I'm very annoyed with this set because Nebula, right? Season passes are going to be like bundles or sets are going to be a little bit less value because a lot of players do get the season pass, right? So you are losing out on that rotation. It basically means that the spotlight variant has to be really appealing. And then Silk, I would say, was an okay card, but it's not really meta breaking. It doesn't really it's hard to control, and that's a big downside, I would say, in a lot of decks. And people aren't really playing Craven or anything to take advantage of the silk benefit of moving around. So it's just kind of a lizard you can't really control, and a lot of times it'll move to a location that you're not competing in, and it'll just be wasted power. So it does have that kind of drawback. You have to be like contesting every lane, and even then it's a little bit blah. So basically I'm saying like the cards next to X-23, which I think is the best card of this set, are not that appealing. So that kind of it's very controlled, right? They know, oh, this is the best card probably in their testing, and they're putting it next to stuff I wouldn't really recommend getting, right? So it definitely makes it looks a little weird here. And then we do have the spotlight variants. Honestly, I do like the silk one, but generally it's a little bit weird. But it's good to know, right? So at least I do know. Oh, if I was planning on getting X-23 with spotlight caches, maybe I'll think about getting over tokens and using the spotlight caches for a set that I do particularly want. So it's just good to know this information, even if you're not a big fan of what's in there. Knowing it gives you a lot of like control of like what to save, when to save it. Am I happy using my resources for this first month, for this second month? Like it's just good information to know. And then here we have Silver Samurai. It's next to Kitty Pryde. It's next to Spider-Man 2099. Now, the initial issue I had with Kitty Pryde is that a lot of players got Kitty Pryde for free. So Secondary knows that, of course. So it's basically, for a lot of players, this is an extra whiff, right? If you get the Kitty Pryde. So I initially wasn't that happy with it. But then I saw the variant, and I was kind of like, you know what? You kind of sold me. So I can definitely see a lot of players actually going for this because of the variant. And that's definitely interesting. And I think because I would say personally the Kitty Pryde variant is very good, it kind of rectifies the fact that they're putting Kitty Pryde as an option, because I would say, oh, normally, progression focused player, you don't really, they just give you a card that most players, a lot of players that are playing the game already have. But with the variant, all right, I'll be quiet here. And then Silver Samurai, Spider-Man 2099. I wouldn't necessarily say Spider-Man 2099 is in a great spot right now, mostly because he's too expensive for the move archetype. Is my thoughts. I haven't made a video about it, but that's my main thoughts on the card. Turn 4 is very important for move decks. That's usually when you do a lot of your combos, and having to not do them or wait until a lot later, it kind of like forces you to play Heimdall to get those effects or get the numbers that you want, right? And a lot of the move decks were having success like not relying on Heimdall because it was too telegraphed, right? But now, if you're playing Spider-Man 2099, you're kind of having to rely on Heimdall to get it. Maybe with Annihilus coming out, that might give you another way of like doing a lot of damage. But generally, that is my current issue with Spider-Man. Obviously, with new cards coming out, that can change. But um, overall, it is a particular concern. And Silver Samurai, I think, is pretty good. So definitely an interesting one. I don't mind getting this one. I don't have Spider-Man 2099, and this kitty part, honestly, is pretty good. I'll get to you. And then a little bit extra, obviously. I said the video is just for August, right? But this technically counts. This is the first week of September, I believe, and the first week we're gonna have Jeff, Ghost Spider, and Null. So there's definitely some interest in Null repeating. So Null is happening again even before all of the other cards show up. So that's definitely something to be aware of. And there's also a little bit more data because of that. And then Jeff here, I knew this was going to happen for Jeff, by the way. I was so expecting Jeff to be its own in its own set, like as the new card, the first, because Jeff is a card everyone wants. I would say it's super popular, it's super good, and it just makes sense if they're trying to make every set of spotlight caches appealing, that Jeff would be not next to a new card because it's good enough to warrant interest by itself. So that's kind of the idea here. And then they're putting it next to Ghost Spider, which is series pass card, which a lot of people have. And then they're putting it next to Null, which a lot of people rolled this week, right? To get Null, to get the Gene Foster. And then also people are just like using their spotlights the first week because it's new and they just want to open things, right? So a lot of people got Null and a lot of people have the series pass. So Jeff is just by itself here, and people are still gonna get it. So it's just very intentional, right? That people want Jeff. Let's put some cards that aren't as interesting here. Null repeat, and a series pass card, which are just inherently going to be less value because more people are going to have access to it. So yeah, a little bit concerning. And my problem is, if you need Jeff, I would still get it. If you need Jeff by September, I would still recommend this cache, right? So it's like because Jeff is good enough, I would say that you could still go for it here. So yeah, definitely they are aware of what they're doing, because I'm still like, oh yeah, you should still open this. And then here we do have the spotlight variants for these three as well. So even though Null is repeating, it's getting a new spotlight variant. You're not going to get the same one. So that's something they did mention. If they were to do a card again, it would get a different spotlight variant. So there's the one for Null. That's currently planned. Obviously, things could change a little bit. So I don't want to fully recommend that this is always going to be the case. It's always like on this week, it's going to be just Ghost Spider Null 100%. These are the variants 100%. We don't know, right? So Second Editor didn't confirm this, right? This is just Datamines stuff, and I just want to be aware that, these could change. But it's still very good, and it's very likely a lot of these will stay the same. So I'm pretty confident in this kind of stuff. And obviously, once we see this play out, then during the next Datamine, I'll be a lot more confident to recommend it, because I know, nothing changed with the first set. So it's still interesting that all of this is already shown in the data for people to scrap. So pretty cool. Now there's some final things I do want to talk about with these reveals. So first things first is that some cards are likely staying in Series 4, Series 5. Right? So Null is planned to be available in September caches, right? So that means Null is not dropping down, right? Like minimum, October, but it would be very weird for them to do that as well. So there's just a likelihood that there are just gonna be some permanent Series 4 cards, or some permanent Series 5 cards. They're not big bads, basically. So that's just kind of unfortunate. Obviously, I'll see if I can. I have a lot of videos to make with all the news, but maybe I'll make a video about the update to series drops and stuff like that for sure. And then another thing I did want to talk about was that I wanted to show the cards that were not in a cache for July and August. All right, so Negasonic, Hitmonkey, Howard the Duck, Zabu, Snowguard, and Stegron are Series 4, Series 5 cards, but they were not in any of these drops. Obviously, there was only one repeat, so it's not like they could have put everything in there. But it does show like these are probably potentially series drop targets, like cards that would be moved down, maybe the Series 3, maybe the Series 4. These are the ones I would be looking at because they're not in any of the caches. And it makes sense. When I look at these cards, am I like impressed? Obviously, the ones that impress me the most are the Series Pass cards, the Zabu and Hitmonkey. Those two, I think, are good cards, playable, strong. The other four, Negasonic, Howard, Snowguard, Stegron, don't think they're very strong right now. I think they have their weaknesses, and I could definitely see them being removed from the Series 4 pool, very reasonably. So those are definitely some interesting things to take account for. And then overall, my thoughts is that the boxes are made strategically, right? So you can see the Jeff box is in there, the X23 box. They're next to cards I wouldn't necessarily say a good deal, but the cards themselves kind of are enticing enough to be made an appealing box. So there's definitely some strategy here. Also, Nimrod and Galactus in the same set, right? That's also very strategically done, right? You have the combo together. I'm actually missing both of those cards, right? So it's actually good. And then just focus on the cards you want. So there's going to be some people saying, oh, this value is better than this value is better than that. Honestly, if you're missing a card and you want a card, the way it's set up is that the card you want is the card you are shooting for. Like the card you want is worth the 4 boxes. You're just getting extra cards on top of it. So let's say you want the Spider-Man 2099, right? The 4 boxes are worth Spider-Man 2099. It's just that you're getting an extra Kitty Pryde, an extra Silver Samurai on top of that. So if there's a card you really, really want, Jeff, a big bad, whatever, focus on that card. You're just getting extra cards on top, or spotlight variants if you're unlucky on top. So we're not unlucky, but if you have the cards already. So and here are just some examples of sets I would be looking at myself, right? The Galactus Nimrod Spider-Ham set I think is pretty appealing to me since I don't have Galactus and Nimrod, and then the Spider-Ham variant I think is pretty good, as well as the Silverman Spider-Man 2099 Kitty Pryde variant. Once again, I don't have Silver Samurai or Spider-Man 2099, and I think the Kitty Pryde variant is pretty good. So those are some boxes that I could be made to go towards or push towards, just because it works out very well for me, right? Like if I didn't have Spider-Man 2099, I probably wouldn't look very heavily into this box. The variant like has very little value, and then it's just Silver Samurai, which I think is a good card, but like, I don't want to whiff 4 times, right? I used my boxes today, and I had to go all 4 to get Jean Grey, which was a little bit sad, but generally it wasn't a bad set of boxes for me. I didn't have Living Tribunal or anything. So that's my thoughts. I'm still shocked that it's available immediately do the data mines, but it's great for players to know all of this information. So I'm happy it's there. But I just think Secretary should have mentioned it. Like they should have just been like, "Hey, here's all the data, since you're gonna get it anyways." In like a day after we release the data, the release the patch. So But anyways, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoy it. What's your favorite sets? What are you thinking about? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.
Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you to marvel snap. Your skills will be impeccable.